physically or financially able to do everything that needs to be done to keep it the way they've probably always kept it. And so I think we're obligated, in my opinion, to support our older adults, frankly, who stayed and pay and do everything in their power to be a part of a solution for our community. I think it's the least we can do. So lots of communities have federal HUD dollars that they use for things like that. Those dollars are very restrictive and have a lot of rules. And you may or may not already know that community development emergency repair dollars can only be used for major plumbing, major electrical, heating, not cooling, and one other item that escapes me. And I'm talking about porch railings that are shaky and grab bars and motion lights and frankly a lot of other things that are much, much larger than that, but that keep people living in their homes. Until we build enough affordable older adult housing for you to have a choice to go somewhere else perhaps, I think that we must do this. So I was pretty happy when the commissioners agreed with me and at least allocated the $50,000. So that will, I also specifically requested that program be operated through livable neighborhoods and not community development. My goal for that group that's currently right now working on the policies was not to write a bunch of policies that exclude people, but write a policy that is as inclusive as we can make it. So I'm not looking for another government program that you don't qualify for. We have enough of those. So anyway, just a quick item on that. And then I did want to give you this full copy of the survey, but I also thought that you might be interested, and frankly, what I'm interested in is hearing from you, because did anybody receive the survey? Anybody in this room asked to complete this survey last spring? You were?
I received it.
You did, good.
Yeah.
Good.
I didn't know about the survey until I wasn't aware of the survey until we had a meeting, a visible neighborhood meeting. Because I don't know anyone in our area
That got a
that
survey. So,
The yellow one, right, that came in the mail,
I
randomized?
do not know because I did not personally receive one either. It was random.
It's random, yeah.
We were, through this ETC Institute, there they are, they walked us through how they would survey, and they guaranteed us X number of minimum per district, so that we didn't have, 30,000 people in Piper tell us what they want, and 10 people in Parkwood. They guaranteed a minimum number of returns in every single district, so that there was some consistency. However, I'm gonna look at this real quick. I really don't have to take up your whole evening, but there were several questions that were kind of specific. Here they are. So the dangerous dog ordinance, we have a pit bull ban right now. There's been a lot of effort, particularly on the part of animal rescue and pet groups, to get the unified government to change that ordinance and not make it breed specific to just the pit bull, but make it a dangerous dog ordinance. So the question was, would you support that change? And across the board in every district, there was large support for changing it. And I was surprised to see that result, but every district showed support. And so I say that to you partly, to be aware that that may come up in the next year or so. And we're gonna need to then the second one was the chickens, the female chickens. You know, number one, should we let you have them, and number two, if so, how many? And there was support for that as well. And particularly, yes, overwhelming support for yes, and overwhelming support for how many was the, 1 to 6.
So the ordinance is there now, isn't it?
The chicken ordinance, it is now, we only
Because that's
just
what they
passed it.
mentioned at the, at Thursday.
Yeah, we only passed it in the last couple of weeks, but
Okay.
we did pass it. So let me back up. You can have chickens if you go get a permit.
But it was passed. That's what a lot of people don't know, that,
It did pass. It did pass.
And you said how many chickens can you have?
Up to 6.
Okay.
And
No,
then
yeah.
there's the little piece about if your lot size is this to this.
Right.
What
If
is-
it's too small, right, which a
Right.
lot of the urban lots are,
That's,
you will go back to the old way and you will go ask for a special use permit, and you will go through that process, and we will either grant it or we won't. If your lot is big enough, then you'll go buy your permit, pay your fee, and have your, no roosters.
What's the permit for?
I'm sorry.
What's the permit about?
I think it's a tracking piece, because if we see that, a lot of people are not gonna get a permit. You know, that's a
right.
given, you know. I mean, I'm in your neighborhood, I've told you this many times,
Yes.
and I'm like, oh, there's the rooster.
That's right.
You know, so I know that a lot of people are not gonna get their permit, but the permit would simply be for us to keep track of, and then hold revocation authority, right, if you're abusing it. You go get a permit for your 6 chickens and we come out and you have 40, we're probably gonna yank your permit, so,
No roosters?
no roosters.
How are you supposed to get eggs?
You can get eggs without roosters.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they won't
The
won't make
eggs.
babies, but they'll make eggs.
Right.
Hens
How do they
will-
get impregnated?
They won't.
They don't get.
This is so you can have eggs,
Eggs.
not baby chickens.
know.
I guess I'm not understanding the biology, but how do they get pregnant?
They don't get pregnant.
Or how do they,
They lay their eggs, but the
Insemination.
eggs, yeah,
don't get
No,
inseminated?
fertile.
thank you. Fertile is the word I'm looking for. So yes, so this is for eggs.
Okay.
Well, you probably have to make to have eggs now, but I have.
Yeah, I don't know, I guess I don't know how.
No, they just have
You woke up every
hens.
morning,
With the rooster.
They don't need.
The rooster comes out afterwards?
They don't need rooster.
Oh, they don't need roosters.
So,
They just create the egg with
Well,
themselves?
this, when they show on TV, some lady got in trouble because she had so many cats or so many, whatever. How did that happen first? You know, what, they might show on television, either the lady had a whole lot of cats, or somebody
right,
had
so
dogs.
those folks have usually been turned in and have been through some sort of process that has alerted us to them. And we're saying the remedy is you must make application for a special use permit for, we've got one coming up this month for X number of goats, X number of horses, and X number of dogs or something, all on this one parcel. I mean, where I live, I was telling Miss Coleman, I live a mile north of Leavenworth Road by the lake. Well, I mean, go anywhere north of Leavenworth Road, and it's very rural. And so,
Yeah.
I can see the county has a lot of places where that could be appropriate. I live in one. That's different from, in your neighborhood.
Right.
I'm gonna keep some goats and some chickens, I have a measure of, empathy and understanding for, urban farming and access to fresh fruit, food and things like that, and I just think we're looking for the balance. Where's the balance? That's what we're looking for, because we know that people need access. So we're just looking for balance right now. So with the chickens, we've said up to 6, go get your permit, pay $30 or whatever it is, go get your permit and have your female chickens. I wanted to give this to you, and you certainly can look at it or recycle it or whatever you'd like to do. But I just think I find that kind of data interesting, and I
have a question. So if we're living, just say for instance now, because I know the word will get out, that the ordinance was passed, and, like you say, there are plenty of people that will have the chickens regardless. So if you're feeling that it's a nuisance, how are we to address that? Because, I think people need to know.
do too.
Because you may say, well, you can have, 100 chickens, how many?
6
6.
maximum.
6 chickens,
Mhm.
and, they may be, it may be a health problem, I'll say it that way. And you're living so close to each other. So how, are we to contact the, animal
I don't know if it's gonna be through animal services. I'm gonna ask, and I'm gonna say it might be codes, but I don't know. And I'm gonna find out, because it's a really good question, and they may have told it to us as we went through this process, and I simply don't remember. That's a distinct possibility. But I will find out, because I think it's a valid question.
Yeah.
So kind of an enforcement, if you will.
Yeah, because I think that, like the word gets out, like, hey, just get your chickens. And, you wake up get up one day, and look, you have all the, people have these chickens, and they're like, they're not cleaning after them.
Yeah, that's right.
Because when I worked at KU Medical Center in cancer research, that was one of the contributing factors to lung cancer. And in the pathology department, they were trying to figure out how is this happening, with the rural people coming in, and they had lung cancer. So one of the contributing factors that was the question, do you have chickens? And all of those people that came in with that, lung specifically, not just lung cancer, I can't even remember the specific site, but it was because they had chickens.
With the,
Just,
chicken poop
yeah,
and
the
the diseases.
inhaling.
Um,
Inhaling.
I can tell you a lot of conversation
Well,
was held because of exactly what
I
you said.
tried to talk with the lady, what's her name about it?
Oh, Katie Barnett, the one that brought us the presentation?
Yes, and she was got upset with
She
me.
didn't wanna hear
She
it.
didn't want to hear it. And I said, that's fine, all I could do was just mention, because if we keep doing the same things keep happening.
Right.
And, so I thought it was just an interesting observation that I would share with her.
I can tell you that, Jane Philbrook, District 8, is an eye doctor, but nonetheless, has a medical background. And so she has had these concerns. On the planning commission, we had a doctor who has since resigned and moved out of state, but he had concerns. So these are real
Yeah.
questions and real concerns.
Yeah.
And I don't have the answer, but my sense is there must have been some satisfaction at some point
Okay.
to move it forward, and I'll try to get more on that. But I will also find out about the enforcement side of it.
I had a friend of mine whose father died, had a parrot, and it killed him,
My,
parrot poop.
not to get way off the topic, but in 1993, my 33-year-old sister got very, very sick, and it ended up passing away. They were looking at anything and everything,
Yeah.
including what kinds of things like this might she have been in contact
Exposed
with.
to, yeah.
So it's always sort of right here for me.
And I guess because I worked in there, and when that came up, I'm like, oh no, because it was so, I thought, well, in that area where I was working, it was just so interesting to come, to be exposed to the knowledge of, you know, this is as a result of this is,
Yeah.
this can happen. And you just don't just throw that knowledge away. I mean, and like you say, maybe that now that they have, because now maybe they have to have them raised up from the, off the
I know
ground.
that that's part of it, and certainly the cleaning is all written into this ordinance. But does it ensure that it'll be complied with? You know, obviously it does
Because
not.
if you're living
so-
next door and someone, decides they have these little chickens, I don't think everyone's gonna be, putting their chickens in a coop that's up
That's
off
right.
of the ground.
And they're supposed to, but
It's
yeah,
both-
you're right.
Not only them, but the neighbor.
The neighbor, absolutely. So I think these are really valid questions. I'll try to get more information.
Cause
and
I
at
certainly
least-
wouldn't wanna live next door.
And you know, I can remember back, when I was at Leavenworth Road Association, so I left there in 2004, and I was there 9 years, so now we're talking 2
Yeah.
decades.
Yeah.
And I was taking calls even way back then
Yeah.
about neighbors complaining about the mess part that chickens. But anyway, I did want to at least alert you that those questions had both been presented in the survey and had both been shown support, and the chicken thing's done, and the dog thing, just be aware that the dog thing may roll around again someday. I just wanted you to be aware of it. And then anything else on that survey that's of interest to you. And then I didn't know if you wanted to talk about the
Well,
Elder
I'd like to
campus or
thank
anything
you
schools.
for the support that you have given us,
Yes.
our church through the years, because we have received several people participating in our grief support group from
Oh,
Shepherd Center.
good, good.
And